This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Welcome, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com, Monday, April 16th. So glad that you survived Tax Day here in the United States and you're on the other side of another year and ready to take off into glory land with all the power and joy and everything we muster through our Completement formulas and just the confidence we have in what we're doing and how we're taking care of ourselves. And we're also building a great network of people who are committed to the same health, vitality, and well-being. And they're all being led by our one and only fearless leader, Dr. Carolyn Dean. And you can hear me smiling in my voice because in front of me I have a picture of her that she sent me a couple weeks ago. And tonight we are talking about magnesium, the anti-aging miracle, and I have to say that I'm looking at this picture of Carolyn. I swear she looks like she's in her 20s. She's so young, so vital, so alive, so powerful, and so joyful. It just amazes me every time I'm with her. And she really has mastered these possibilities of living very well, using nutrients as her medicine and using her own clarity of mind and her own wisdom to guide herself. And she's compiled as a doctor and as a naturopath for many, many people, her formulas and her wisdom and her information, and she disseminates that all over the globe. And people come and hearken to her and listen to her words and take her advice and her suggestions, and they implement it in their own life, and they produce extraordinary results. And so we're so happy to have her with us this evening. I want to say that she is a medical doctor, has been for many, many, many years, and she's also a naturopath, who's studying natural medicine, of course, and she's done herbalists, and she's done so many things, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, she is in an incarnation of her life, elevating her game and stepping out and creating her formulas and putting these things together for the general public and drawing a line in the sand and saying to people, hey, listen, you can have health, vitality, and well-being. The body is intelligent. It will perform if you give it the basic building blocks, and I've got those that I can share with you how to move forward. So, again, we're so thrilled to have her with us this evening talking about magnesium, the anti-aging mineral. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean. Hello? Dr. Dean?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, Jenny. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yes, I just finished.
Do you know
what
picture I'm looking at?
No, I was too busy writing emails. What picture?
I'm looking at the picture of you and Barb.
Oh, yes. Oh, our nutritionist.
Yes, our nutritionist, Barb Schlitz, was in Hawaii visiting Carolyn, and Carolyn has her Fiesta Whale Foundation shirt on, and she's got beautiful hand-painted sea turtles and whales all over her shirt, and they're out in the beautiful sun, standing side by side, looking so glorious and so young, Carolyn. You look so young in this picture. It cracks me up. I'm like, oh, Lord, she's going backwards.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's for darn sure. It is fun what's happening because I know for myself I feel healthier and lighter and more flexible than I did 30 years ago. It's really, and 30, 40 years ago, I was having magnesium deficiency symptoms. We got an email question about someone who has terrible back spasms, and I would get just back spasms throughout my whole back, and it just hit me. I think it was when I was writing the updated Magnesium Miracle, the 2017 version. I realized, oh my gosh, those horrible back cramps that I had, just they would, lay me out for days and days at a time. It wasn't like a leg cramp. It was just horrible back spasms, and that was magnesium deficiency. So when someone has spasms like that, when the magnesium deficiency is so severe that you're kind of calcified, where your joints are kind of just rusty and they're not moving properly, it does age you. Yes, it ages you, and that's what we're talking about today. And Ginny's blog that she puts out on Mondays to announce the show. What is the title, Ginny? I copied the content, but tell us the title.
It is Magnesium, the anti-aging mineral.
Right, Magnesium, the anti-aging mineral, and we've got a phone ringing, and I don't know where it is, but hopefully it'll stop soon. So what are people in my generation, even younger generation, older generation, what are we most concerned about? It is our health, and it also is, how long are we going to last? And are we so kind of brainwashed and focused on the fact that our ancestors have died horrible deaths with all their chronic diseases? They're in the hospital. They've got tubes running in and out of every orifice. I mean, everybody just has this horrible image of passing over. And we don't want that to happen. And as Ginny and I talk about all the time, we're just determined that we're going to live forever. And that's our motto. And that allows us to focus on living forever. Means you're living fully today because you're not worried about the future. So you're living fully today, fully engaged, and you don't worry about anything. And that's such a burden lifted off your shoulders. It's like the burden that was lifted when I started studying total biology, and I found that cancer is a conflict. And if you identify your conflicts, if you talk about them, if you place them outside of your self and your world, then cancer cannot be as frightening a possibility that we see today. And we know that. We see cancer advertised on TV. If people are still watching TV, there'll be ads for cancer clinics and acting like, well, when you get your cancer, you can come to us. So it's advertising the medicalization of your health. It's putting these ideas in your head that, yes, I guess I'm due for my cancer. So all this negative information that's flooding your brain, what's happening there is it's like an irresolvable conflict. I'm writing a blog right now on genetic testing, and I've mentioned it many times, this individual consumer gene testing, 23andMe, etc. It's just setting up a whole host of irresolvable problems for people. And nobody's getting that part of all this excitement over the new technology and, we can know our genes. And well, what's that going to do for you? Knowing your genes, knowing the genes like the 23andMe says of specific genetic variants related to 10 diseases or conditions is what they focus on. Well, those 10 diseases, conditions are untreatable. There's no medical treatment, no alternative treatment really for the conditions they're going to diagnose for you 10, 20, 30 years before the fact. What does that do to a person's brain? It's unbelievable what's going on out there. No thought, no insight, no forethought to how that's going to affect a person's brain. So that's what's going on as we think we are aging, as we're continuing on in our world. And Jenny starts off the blog with Dr. Durlach, Durlach, in 1993. He summed up the existing research on magnesium and aging, and he made 7 points, and I have them in the Magnesium Miracle Book. 1, magnesium deficiency symptoms in the elderly include central nervous system symptoms that seem largely, quote, neurotic. They are anxiety, excessive emotionality, fatigue, headaches, insomnia, lightheadedness, dizziness, nervous fits, the sensation of a lump in the throat, and impaired breathing. And the insomnia is huge there because the less you sleep, the more you feel these other symptoms. And one of the major treatments of insomnia is getting enough non-laxative magnesium that it saturates your body. Number 2, peripheral nervous system signs are common. Pins and needles of the extremities, cramps, and muscle pains. When people have pins and needles these days, tingling and irritation on the nerve level, they're worked up for multiple sclerosis, for Pete's sakes. And once you hear that word and you know that that's incurable, it can be really freaky for people. Number 3, functional disorders, including chest pain, shortness of breath, chest pressure, palpitations, extrasystoles, which is occasional heart thumps from an isolated extra beat, abnormal heart rhythm, and Raynaud's syndrome. So all these magnesium deficiency symptoms are kind of just barreled into aging diagnosis, and you'll recall your doctor saying, well, you're getting older when you tell them about these symptoms. Number 4, autonomic nervous system disturbances, which involve both the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, causing hypotension on rising quickly or borderline hypertension. In elderly patients, excessive emotionality, tremor, weakness, sleep disorders, amnesia, and cognitive disturbance are particularly important aspects of magnesium deficiency. So this is, I think there were 7, but we've got 4 here. This is what Jean Durlach is saying about the association of magnesium deficiency and aging. Jenny continues, just think how all these so-called aging symptoms are treated with truckloads of prescription medications. However, it's even more disturbing when you realize how medicine perceives aging. She's talking about me now and says, what Dr. Dean has repeatedly stated is you can successfully eliminate these signs of aging with magnesium at the same time that a new study finds that, quote, cognitive decline in women starts at midlife. As reported on Medscape, allopathic researchers have decided that, quote, for women, mental sharpness, particularly processing speed, begins to decline as early as age 50, end quote. So this is what we're up against. It's like the university research arm. They're trying to gather research funding all the time to study all and anything they can, but they'll never look at why women may show signs of declining. And I'd say number one is that they're magnesium deficient. 80% of the population is. Now, yes, so as I said earlier, and you can read this whole blog at drcarolyndeanlive.com, where we have our Jenny's weekly blog. So it's like these researchers are absolving doctors of all responsibility for helping a person improve their cognition by saying, don't be surprised when 50-year-old female patients come in saying they're forgetting where they left their keys. This is cognitive aging. It's very common, very usual, and it's just like the aging of other organ systems. How many times have you heard your doctor toss out your symptoms with the refrain, you're not getting any younger, you know? Note, just as you should not believe that your brain and cognition are on a death spiral after age 50, neither are any of your other organs. In the Magnesium Miracle book, Dr. Dean reports on a 2004 study that elevated magnesium to the position of memory enhancer. So what I say in the book is particular brain receptors important for learning and memory depend on magnesium for their regulation. The researchers describe magnesium as an absolutely necessary component of the cerebrospinal fluid in order to keep these learning and memory receptors active. Another quote, magnesium is instrumental in opening brain receptors to important information while at the same time allowing them to ignore background noise. Researchers were quite struck by their findings and concluded, quote, as predicted by our theory, increasing the concentration of magnesium and reducing the background level of noise led to the largest increases of plasticity ever reported in the scientific literature. Even more exciting, a 2011 study of fear conditioning found that magnesium reduces this physical reaction to fear. So then we go into the calcification that I started with. One major mechanism by which magnesium deficiency causes symptoms of aging is through calcification. I quote Pierre Delbit, who practiced in the early 1900s. He was convinced that the aging body's tissues have 3 times more calcium than magnesium. He knew that calcium precipitates out into tissues that are deficient in magnesium. He observed the toxicity of excess calcium in the testicles, brain, and other tissues and concluded almost a century ago that magnesium deficiency plays a role in senility. And I also quote Dr. Guy Abraham, who said, in order to protect the fluid inside the cell from becoming saturated with calcium, there is a magnesium-dependent mechanism that shunts calcium in and out of the mitochondria. But if calcium goes in and doesn't come out because there isn't enough magnesium to maintain that shunt, mitochondrial calcification occurs and eventually results in cell death, end quote. Doesn't this research make you wonder if calcium excess and magnesium deficiency could be the underlying reason for the recent upsurge in mitochondrial dysfunction? And I'll also add that people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, they're being told more and more that, well, you know, it's at the mitochondrial level and the research isn't quite there for us to know what to do about that, and why don't you take these dozen supplements, whereas what you need to do is saturate yourself with magnesium instead of allowing, quote, the fluid inside the cell to become saturated with calcium. So what do we say then, Jenny? We rest our case. We rest our case that we are on the right track, baby. Isn't that right, Jenny?
Right on. That's great. We're on the right track, baby. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, Carolyn. I mean, that's great content, great information, and it's very important for people to know and understand this because it circumvents a lot of problems, a lot of health problems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we're, again, not treating disease. We are treating magnesium deficiency. And if people say, well, there's more to the body than just magnesium, well, for Pete's sakes, just start with the magnesium, and then we'll duke it out after you get completely saturated and see what else is left. I mean, for people to stand aside and say, well, this is too simple, this will never work, I mean, you're only harming yourself. You really have to get on board here because, we're on the magnesium train, and we are not stopping for anybody.
Actually, we're hoping to add a lot more people to the train as we barrel down the road.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah, I said the wrong thing, didn't I?
We're on the remag train. Screw magnesium. It doesn't work. It's remag.
Yes, Bob. Thank you. Bye, Bob. Do the laundry, Bob.
I am.
Okay.
For those first-time listeners, that's Dr. Dean's husband, who is wont to pop in and say words every once in a while. And there is a point to that. The remag, is the true, accelerated magnesium, and we've got more things to say about that, but probably not right this second, huh, Carolyn?
Yeah. Yes. There's so much that we're learning over these years of helping people with their magnesium deficiency and the other mineral deficiencies, the B vitamin deficiency. We're taking care of that with Realign, and we continually hear back from people that, once I finally bit the bullet and took the remag, I started to feel better. We've got Bruce, who I think he's emailing in every day now, and he says, thank you, Dr. Dean and Jenny. Your remag and recalcia have changed my life, in caps. Thank you all so much. And then the next email, this remag and recalcia is sheer genius, Dr. Dean. Thank you so much. It has transformed my health. You are brilliant, Dr. Dean. Thank you for developing your products. Warmest regards. Third email, my skin on my hands is now smooth. Unbelievable products. Will tell all my docs about them. You are brilliant. I have a feeling of general well-being as well. I have an anxiety disorder, and I'm feeling calmer. Bruce, you're not sounding calmer. You're screaming out your thank yous, which Bob would definitely appreciate. He keeps wondering, why aren't people screaming this from the rooftops? So, Bruce, you're doing great. And, I thank you, the brilliant bits. Maybe some brilliance, but I am definitely tenacious, uncompromising, and unfailingly optimistic. And those things have served me well, kept me going. I had to wait 10 years to, I was trying to find someone to make something like Remag, something that was completely absorbed and non-laxative, and finally I had to do it myself. So I never gave up because I knew it was necessary for myself. I've talked a lot about my incredible magnesium deficiency and how I have the laxative effect with any magnesium I take. So for personal reasons, I had to keep working to get to the Remag. So that's where we are today, helping people get their health organized, stay young as long as you want, and be healthy. So that's where we're at. There's not much in the way of mailbag and that sort of thing today, Ginny. So I can break off when we go to chat and phones now, if you like, and see what comes up there.
Okay, very good. Let me say, if you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean tonight, 602-666-6027 is the number to call. That's 602-666-6027. And if you're on the chat line or here at the station at your computer, and you'd like to text in a question for Dr. Dean, you can do that on our public chat line, and we'll read it out loud like I'm about ready to read this one. From Sandra, who says, aside from garlic as an antifungal, what other antifungals can I take with my bentonite clay and psyllium powder for my candida detox? Is it normal To be constipated when you're undergoing this candida detox, I am taking Remag 2.5 teaspoons. Thank you.
Okay, so that's about the yeast. Well, you should have the yeast book where I go over 3 or 4 different antifungals that you rotate. So make sure you write to support@rnareset.com and get the yeast book, or go to carolyndeanlive.com, and under books you can download the free yeast book. It's all written out there. As for getting constipated, yes, when you're doing any sort of detox, it is important to increase your water intake. You should be on the water guidelines of taking half your body weight in pounds and that number of ounces of water a day, putting in the sea salt. And when you do psyllium seed powder, for example, that turns into a gel. And when you drink it down, say you drink it down in 4 ounces of water, you want to follow that with 8 ounces. People who have the laxative effect, they can use the psyllium and less water to help bind them. People who get more of the constipation end of things, they'll take more water with their psyllium and bentonite. It's just pretty flexible that way. Remag itself does help people with their constipation, not by being a laxative, but by helping the intestinal muscles create the proper peristaltic action that pushes waste through the intestines. 2.5 teaspoons may be enough for you. It might not be. You can kind of look over all your magnesium deficiency symptoms and see if you need a little more. Maybe when you are in yeast detox and killing off yeast, you might need a little more Remag to help the detoxification. So that was a bunch of answers there, but I don't know if I answered all her questions.
That sounded about right, and I put the link to the book in the chat room for you, so Sandra, so you've got it right there. You've got it right there. Marv says, hello to the most beautiful persons in the universe, and then he said something that I didn't understand, so I just wanted to read the beautiful persons in the universe part, Carolyn.
Thank you, Marv.
And then I'm asking for clarification about that. Okay, now, Carolyn, I have something that's totally impromptu and very interesting to say. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but do you know that today they dedicated a memorial on the ellipse in Washington, D.C., in the President's Park, to opioid addiction?
Ooh.
They put a monument with the faces of people who have died at the height of our country's opioid crisis, and they're using it as a way to call lawmakers to double down on policies and implement actions to prevent prescribing and treatment of opioid use. Can you imagine? I mean, to me, that just seems like the most bizarre thing in the whole wide world, to put a monument like the Vietnam monument. Like, this is how big it is. They're like making it like a war.
And it is a war, and we'll never win it unless they start looking at alternatives to pain and swelling and all the muscle spasms, all the horrible effects of magnesium deficiency. They've been treating magnesium deficiency with opioids and killing people, and they don't have a clue what they're doing, what they're treating, and I don't think they ever will. So yeah, it's that's incredible. I mean, what's that going to do? Oh, well, we'll find a drug that doesn't have these side effects. It's always going to be about finding a better drug. When something doesn't work, and the blog I think this blog went out today, but I'll look it up. 3 antihypertensives instead of magnesium. So there's a study that because hypertension apparently isn't being conquered, they've decided, well, let's right away give 3 drugs for high blood pressure because one isn't working, two aren't working. And I reported in today's blog or yesterday's blog that what they got out of using 3 drugs was the top systolic blood pressure was lowered by 9 points, and the diastolic bottom pressure was lowered by 5 points. And I compared this to a study by a friend of mine. It was a meta-analysis, Dr. Andrea Rosenoff, 2013. She found a reduction in systolic blood pressure of 18.7 points compared to 9 with the 3 drugs, and a diastolic reduction of 10.9 compared to 5 with the 3 drugs. So that's what we're up against, folks. Study after study shows that magnesium deficiency is being misdiagnosed and treated with 3 drugs. So instead of opioids, they'll say, well, let's give 3 non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, knowing full well that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs cause heart disease because they lower magnesium levels. I mean, we're in an incredible bind where doctors are blindsided and blinded to the fact that nutrient deficiencies are creating a lot of chronic disease, and they're never gonna acknowledge that. There's so many things to say about a memorial to our stupidity. Is that what it is? It's pretty outrageous, but at the same time, these people who have been addicted and where these drugs are so available, where doctors are just prescribing machines. I mean, that you can bill for a doctor visit when you just prescribe a painkiller. And what happened in the whole opioid world is, yes, they're addictive. Yes, they should be monitored carefully. So I think they told doctors that they couldn't give out big scripts, so they had to see a person every week for their prescription. So every week they've got these people trooping in to fill out a prescription for a few pills, and they make their office visit fee. It is a big business, and it has resulted in this horrible addiction, all these deaths. But the deaths, I mean, you add up the deaths of this opioid addiction and compare them to the couple 100,000 that were caused by, it was the painkiller that a FDA whistleblower found with killing a couple 100,000 people in previous 5 years. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about death by modern medicine, where I've gotten over 1 million people die prematurely because of allopathic medicine. So, yeah, we're in a state of war that nobody is going to win. So there.
Wow, yeah, just, wow, it's just something else. And to build a memorial to all these people who've died at the hands of one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the world, the pharmaceutical industry, in Washington, D.C., their dirty work all over that town, and then to build a memorial to their whole plight right down the road is just disgusting. So disgusting. There aren't any words for it. It's just shocking.
Yeah.
And they think it's a solution. That's another thing. Like you said, they think it's a solution. It's not a solution.
All right. Yeah, it was Dr. David Graham in 2005. He was the Associate Director of Science for the Office of Drug Safety at the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research for the FDA. And it was about Vioxx. And they tried to shut him up, but he finally had his say about the... Yeah, he said various studies indicate a range of increased heart attack rate, which translates to as few as 400 or as many as 10,800 additional heart attacks per million men at low doses of the drug, and up to 40,000 at higher doses. So all those words kind of obscure the fact that it took years for him to get it through to the brain of the FDA that these painkillers, Vioxx, Celebrex, etc., were costing lives, and it's a situation where people kind of accept the side effects of drugs. It's just you win some, you lose some. It's just incredible that we will allow these side effects. And another aspect of it I've written about in Death by Modern Medicine is doctors kind of are blind to the side effects. They don't want to think that they're giving a drug to someone that can harm them. And I'm sure they don't want to harm people, but they're in their 7-minute office visit. They have all these billion-dollar drug studies that supposedly show these drugs are, quote, safe, and it's usually not until 5, 7, 10 years after the release of a drug that the post-surveillance statistics come through and say, oopsie daisy, there we go again, this drug is a killer, it's not really helping. And so what will happen, as I alluded to in my my blog about 3 antihypertensives instead of magnesium, if a drug isn't working on a patient, they will not go to a nutrient, they will not go to any alternative medicine, they will give more drugs. They'll even give more of the drug that the patient complains is causing side effects because they go, oh, no, that can't be. You're just not taking enough. So people are losing faith in the medical profession, and I don't know how it's going to come back unless it's a fear-based approach, which is what we're getting in this genetic testing. It's like, well, we know you're going to have these 100 problems because your genes are showing it, and we're in charge of that, and no, we don't have anything that'll cure you, but just keep in touch. Maybe in 100 years we'll figure it out. And people are just flocking to get these genetic tests with absolutely no standardization or credentialing of people who are counseling you. It's just a huge business to sell the gene test and then for these weekend genetic counselors to come along and tell you that they know how to help you. And usually it's because they've been sick, they've done gene testing, they've found out problems, and they think they can tell you what problems they found for their testing, and it'll apply to you. And I know 3/4 of the time they spend talking to people, it's reassuring them that, oh, this doesn't really mean that it's that bad. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. For Pete's sakes, the Pandora's box has been opened. Your brain is flooded with the information that you have 100 gene mutations. They still call them mutations, and they're really just gene variations that may not mean anything, but in your brain it becomes an irresolvable problem that results in disease itself. And it's just horrifying.
No, it really is. It's just, Really shocking. And that's why I think more, we just encourage our audience and our customer base and everything to share the information. And, people really do have to take responsibility for their own health. And, getting educated when you feel better and feel good is much better than having to scramble. We have people who come in to, our situation, and they've been sick for a long time and very disappointed, and they're also, not very hopeful in that kind of thing, and they have to really do a quick, turnaround, trying to just take it all in and then make their choices and start to implement a protocol so that they can feel better. But I hope as many people, to arm as many people with this information as possible so they can make good choices and use the Completement formulas, which are very simple, to protect their health as well as to recover their health if it's been lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's a testimonial. This woman said, our whole family is magnesium deficient. I'm still at 4 teaspoons of Remag after 1 year. When I go lower, I get leg cramps and heart fluttering, so I'm staying at the level where my body needs it. Aside from Lyme, so she has Lyme disease and co-infections, I think I might have issues related to fibromyalgia. And she quotes, there's a Dr. Amen, A-M-E-N, who has a book on fibromyalgia, and he thinks that some folks might have a genetic phosphorus clearance issue. Now, what's interesting about phosphorus is we found out from our kidney dialysis patients who build up phosphorus in the body, and they're treated with calcium to help clear the phosphorus. Our dialysis patients on Remag say that they stop the calcium, they take the Remag, and their phosphorus goes down. So we know that if people with fibromyalgia have too much phosphorus, that the magnesium in the form of Remag can be helpful. She goes on, I am totally thinking that excess phosphorus combines with calcium oxalates, and with decades of imbalance, it begins to show up as symptoms when folks are in their 50s and 60s as joint and muscle pain, fatigue due to issues with ATP. And we talked about that with aging. So she's right on board with what I'm saying about the calcification, but she's adding the phosphorus as well. And she said, and perhaps magnesium is used up to help keep phosphorus and calcium at bay. And that's true, and that's where we're talking about saturating yourself, getting a saturation dose of magnesium. Thanks for all you and your treatment does. Love your products and awesome podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where people are right there with us in terms of how they're identifying their problems and helping take care of themselves. So continue on, Ginny, if you have more chats or if we have phone calls.
Okay. Let's check the phone line, 602-666-6027. If you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to hit star 5 on your keypad. Star 5 will let me know you have a question and raise your hand, and I can take you off mute and introduce you to Dr. Dean. Otherwise, your phone stays muted, and we don't get a chance to chitty-chat with you tonight. So, again, star 5 will raise your hand in the studio. And then let's see where are we at with this other business. Okay, Marv. Oh, this is what Marv said. He's fine. Okay, now I'll put what Marv said together. Hello to the most beautiful persons on the face of the earth and in the universe. Let's see, and then he goes on to say, I love hearing all the testimonials of all the goodness of Remag, Remite, and those fabulous products that help me feeling and looking fabulous. Okay, so now we know where that was about. All right, yeah, testimonials are exciting, aren't they? They really are wonderful because it's so much fun to listen to people, get better. It's just wonderful. Susie typed in the killer NSAID was Vioxx, very allopathetic indeed, she says. And Dee Dee says, doctors get yearly bonuses from Big Pharma depending on how many drugs they prescribe. Oh, gosh. Okay, wow. And then somebody named Sassy typed in, what? They took down Confederate statutes, but they put up an opioid memorial. Now we glorify drug dependence. Washington should put a remake statue next to the memorial. That'd be cute. That'd be cute. Very good. Okay, excellent. So there's our chat line, Carolyn. We're all caught up there, and we are no phone callers yet. People, star 5 on your keypad.
Okay, here's something I'll clear up. It's a person whose testimonial I just read, the person with Lyme disease on 4 teaspoons of Remag. She says, I'm listening to Monday night's podcast about magnesium and chlorine. Now, in that I said I didn't have anything in the book that showed that chlorine caused magnesium deficiency. I was kind of sure it did, but then when I couldn't find it in the book, I judged myself and said, well, maybe it doesn't, but it does. I mean, it absolutely does. It's a halogen, and I don't know exactly the mechanism of how it depletes magnesium. I was trying to do some research in the 5 minutes before the show, but I couldn't find it. But what this customer says is, for years I remember observing that when my dad would go swimming or just stand in a chlorinated pool, he would get severe muscle cramps in his calves. He would quickly jump out of the pool and start hopping around to help relieve his muscle pain. No doubt he was very magnesium deficient because he had chronic muscle calf cramps at nighttime too. We would hear him jolt out of bed, hopping and hop around. I wish I knew what we know now about magnesium then. Thank you for educating us. I used to have those awful leg cramps as well. They weren't just extremely painful, but each incident was also somewhat scary too. Anyway, I'm just sharing what I observed. So that was great for me to be reminded that, yes, magnesium can cause, chlorine can cause magnesium deficiency. I found some words online, but I have to back them up with some research, that chlorine potentiates magnesium deficiency. Furthermore, it also decreases the absorption and increases the excretion of calcium and phosphorus. The increased loss of calcium into the urine promotes osteoporosis. So chlorine does a number on the minerals, but what's difficult with mineral and nutrient research is there's just not enough of it. They're not patented, so drug companies aren't making enough money or aren't making any money from nutrients, so they're never going to study them. And most of the research grants that are given in universities, the vast majority are from drug companies. So we're in a really bad place with our nutrient research. Ginny, will I continue on into mailbag?
Yes, please.
Well, actually, here's my blog. I did mention the 3 antihypertensives instead of magnesium, and a doctor wrote in and says, as a doctor, I would be embarrassed to put my patients on a 3 antihypertensive drug. He said, I'm telling everyone, so good for him. And there was a blog, I guess it was just before the antihypertensive one, that I did called Feel the Hunger on intermittent fasting, and someone wrote in, part of what I started a year and a half ago was both intermittent fasting and extended fasts, because the group of people that have the same thing I do all find pretty amazing relief when we fast, even with reversing uveitis. Incredible. So uveitis is an eye inflammation. Let me just get the definition of that. Uveitis, affecting part of the eye called the uvea. These diseases also affect the lens, retina, optic nerve, vitreous, humor, producing reduced vision or blindness. So this person is saying that intermittent fasting and extended fasts helped her with uveitis. Now, what's going on there? It's possibly mostly due to avoiding the carbohydrates. When you stop eating sugars, which are very inflammatory and can cause swelling, fluid retention, etc., then you can relieve inflammation anywhere in the body, it appears. But again, we need more research. Let's see what this is. Someone writes in, I think it was today, I'm a 60-year-old male who has constant muscle tension in my upper back. As I mentioned that earlier, it's like my back. Mine was more mid-back. I've been through many tests that my doctor ordered. They can't find anything wrong. I've been taking 3 teaspoons of Remag for about a year and a half. My last RBC mag test came in at 5.2. I also took test 8 months ago, came in higher at 5.7. My question is, why do you think it went down, and what should I do next? Is it safe to take more Remag? How much? I also take 3/4 of a teaspoon of Remite plus a protein powder. Love your show. Keep up the good work. Okay, so like our customer who with the Lyme disease, she's taking 4 teaspoons. So what are you taking here? 3 teaspoons. It sounds like it's not enough, both for your symptoms and for your blood testing. Your body was 5.2 and then 5.7, and if we can say that these tests are accurate, then your body is utilizing more magnesium than you're giving it. You're not able to build up your stores, and if you can get someone to put Remag lotion on your back, directly on the area, that's going to be helpful too, or take Epsom salts baths. I definitely would be on 1.5 teaspoons of the Remite. You're taking 3 teaspoons of Remag. I say you have to balance that out with half as much Remite. And if you go to 4 teaspoons of Remag, you take 2 teaspoons of Remite. And I don't know anything else about your case, but I would wonder if you should be adding the Realign as a detoxifier. What's the toxicity situation in your system? Do you have to look at yeast overgrowth? Would the RNA drops be helpful in helping you make more perfect cells, as we say you do? Would the RNA drops help you become detached from what may be in a total biology sense, someone knifing you in the back? I thought that was what was happening with my back when I had back spasms, that I was being knifed in the back because I was always under attack for doing alternative medicine. So look at all those things. Okay. Another testimonial, Ginny. You up for that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of course you are, right. Hi, Ginny. This comes to Ginny. Look at Ginny. She's so precious. People love Ginny. And, this is Bruce again. Hi, Ginny. Just can't believe the astounding results that I'm experiencing with both Remag and Recalcia. My stomach, gastritis, and extreme upset are gone. This is unbelievable. I just purchased more yesterday. I'm taking 1/2 bottle cap twice a day and doing remarkably well. I mean, the guy is only taking 300 milligrams a day, for Pete's sakes, and he's over the moon. Just think what will happen if he takes 2 and 3 teaspoons. Thank you for all your kind help. Please thank the brilliant Dr. Dean for me. And this is the real deal. The results have been so astounding and dramatic, it has left me dumbfounded. All this in and out of caps. Very grateful, absolutely cannot believe the results. You have me as a customer for life. How sweet. Do you know this Bruce person, Ginny?
Yes, I do. Bruce is wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I do.
Now go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We just have the 1 minute, so I won't get into anything. So let's just talk about how wonderful Bruce is for a few seconds.
Bruce, you know what? After people don't feel good for a long time and then they get something going that really makes them feel good, they get very grateful very quickly and they want to share their enthusiasm. And we actually listen to people when they speak so they know they have an audience with us. I mean, we correspond with a lot of our customers beyond, what their, normal correspondence would be because, we listen to them and they like to be heard. So, yeah, Bruce is very enthusiastic right now, and I'm glad. He reminds me a little bit of Sandy Burr, who we also love so much. Sandy's another great customer. We have so many wonderful customers. Yeah. Joan. Hello, Joan. Probably freezing your ear off. That crazy snow up there and all that. My girlfriend in Green Bay, 24 inches of snow in the last 2 days, Carolyn. Just nuts, bobo. Really nuts. Yeah. 24 inches of snow. But we've got phone calls. People who want to talk to Dr. So right after the top of the hour. And we've got good stuff on the chat line. And we've got Rena with a question about feeling like she's got electrical charges running up her leg. And Nancy's here reporting in. And Marv talking to his friend about taking their power back. Get off my cloud. So yeah, all kinds of stuff happening. So we'll report in on all that. And take phone calls, some other good stuff in this next hour. So you're listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio, and we will be right back.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this. We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Think of something you hadn't had in a while, like a crazy Italian cream cake, and have it show up, and you not do a thing. You already think of people, and they ring you on the phone now, don't they? Well, reinforce that. And what you'll find then, very quickly, is that there'll be a little cadence. Now, that's a fun way of describing frequency. We call it frequency. And if you frequently get your frequency on, that'll help you in the aligning of frequency. Remember in the old days in the radio, you'd be driving along, and you'd have to have the knob, and you'd turn it to get it right on station so it'd be clear? Well, you were adjusting your tuner to pick up on that frequency completely. It made no difference how loud the volume was. You get it right on the station, get it right on, and then you could crank it up, and you can have it just as loud as you can stand it. But the easier way to go at this is focus on the frequency of your frequency, and then you'll notice a rhythm or a cadence. And then the rhythm or the cadence will allow you to easily identify and connect with that frequency, or allow your tuner to more easily hit the nail on the head.
AchieveRadio.com.
Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
All right, here we go now. Hour 2 back live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Thank you again to our good friend Michael Brown for doing our intro music for us all the way from South Africa. It's got such a great tune to it. And Carolyn, let's take a couple questions from the chat line. And we've got a live caller, so maybe we'll go to our live caller first. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to hello. Hello, are you there?
Yes, Ginny, Carolyn, this is Sarah Courtney. My phone number's not showing up because I'm calling on my work phone.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to run something by you, Carolyn, because in our area we just had come out about a month ago or 3 weeks ago again about calorie restriction diets and how these diets promote anti-aging. And now I've been doing the keto diet, which I really am enjoying and feeling lots of energy from. But I wanted you to compare those because the anti-aging one, or calorie restriction, is makes your body run really low metabolism, and then the keto, I think, is sort of a speeded up metabolism effect. So do you think there's any aging effects using a keto diet, or
yes.
are
right? Yeah, it's. I think it's laid out pretty well in the keto. Where is it? DietDoctor.com. And in Jason Fung's book on obesity, he talks about how all the calorie-restricted diets, while they didn't really promote weight loss for one thing, I guess the point is, does he talk about anti-aging? But I don't know if that's the case. But if I were to do a diet, I'm doing it for caloric restriction. For anti-aging, I'm more doing nutrients because, like I've said 1,000 times, I don't think the food we eat, which is our diet, has enough nutrients to do much of anything. So I'm not going to use the diet for anti-aging. The keto diet with carb restriction is what you want. It's the number of carbohydrates that you eat that turns off fat burning, and apparently burning fat is more efficient than burning carbs or burning calories. And I guess what you'd say is burning ketones causes more activity in the body. It uses up more nutrients. It motivates the body more rather than just simple sugars going into the body and giving you some quick energy. So it's the difference between calorie restriction and carb restriction. That's what we're talking about. Anti-aging, forget about it. Just do the Completement formulas, and you have your anti-aging formula.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear you say that, because I was sort of feeling like that was the case. In the Alturas, who you mention a lot, they on their website, or there's a website with all of their studies on there, and they do talk a lot about telomeres and DNA, damage and so forth for lack of magnesium. So in the calorie restriction, I don't know why those things aren't happening. Maybe there's not as much going into your body that's using up magnesium or something like that. But yeah, I don't know what the connection is, but it sure does seem like the answer is minerals and nutrients instead of calorie restriction. But
right, yes, in our weekly blog about today's topic, anti-aging, we didn't mention the Alturas in the Magnesium Miracle 2017, I make a big deal about the Alturas 2014 study about aging and telomeres and all the rest of it. And that is pretty important. Well, the whole caloric restriction, maybe Bob remembers. Who was the scientist, Bob, who went into the spaceship Earth, the biosphere? Roy, somebody or other, an anti-aging expert. He blew the whole lid on caloric restriction. He and his team went into this biosphere, shut themselves in for, I don't know if it's 1 year or 2 years. They all ended up going pretty crazy and losing so much weight and thinking that it's kind of like shock therapy, I'd say, shocking their bodies into working harder to use the calories that they were eating. But just by looking at calories and not looking at the nutrients, they missed the point. So when biosphere happened and caloric restriction didn't turn out to be what they were showing in rat and animal studies, people kind of turned away from it a bit. And again, I'm talking a lot about weight loss rather than anti-aging, but, they'll just package up an old diet in a new way and act like it's, here, we've got the answer. So that's a mistake.
Yeah, Roy Walford.
Okay, Roy Walford. He did the biosphere. Okay, Bob, mute. Somehow we're echoing. Okay, anything else, Sarah?
Just one more question. And if people eat high protein diets, how do you feel like that affects aging? That it's not balanced out in a keto type way.
Right. Well, what the keto people say about high protein is through the gluconeogenesis of taking amino acids and breaking them down into glucose. A high protein will actually start giving you too much glucose, too much carbs. So high protein is good in that sense at all. And in terms of aging, the thing is about sugars, there's this whole glycation. Have you read about glycation of end product? Glycation, let me see if I can find a definition. Modern diets are largely heat processed and as a result contain high levels of advanced glycation products. They're talking about heat, but I think there's also sugar involved. And they're known to contribute increased oxidant stress and inflammation. So what do we know about oxidation? And inflammation, that's magnesium deficiency, which are linked to recent epidemics of diabetes. What do we know about diabetes? One of the signs is magnesium deficiency. Epidemics of diabetes and cardiovascular disease. What do we know about cardiovascular disease? It's a magnesium deficiency symptom. So anything you throw at me, I'm going to end up finding something about magnesium. But sugar, this is what, if you look at diabetes, sugars end up causing cross polymer reactions. I know I don't have the right word, but in diabetics, you see the end result of high sugar. And you have to look at that as, if someone is constantly eating sugar, that's what could happen to them. If it doesn't affect their pancreas and cause diabetes, they still could be getting some damage to the heart, brain, and kidneys with sugar.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's so interesting. I'm loving the keto diet. It just seems like it would be anti-aging too, to me.
Yeah. It probably is when you think of the high fat levels that we're eating. The brain needs a lot of fat because every neuron is coated with a myelin sheath that is fatty. And fats are a big thing. They're necessary to cover your cells. And when people go on low cholesterol diets, they start developing brain symptoms, and their cells lose integrity, and they start getting edema. So fats are very important. Fats are important for the endocrine system. They're the building blocks of all the hormones. And this business, actually, it was about sugar and the sort of fight between sugar and fat 50 years ago, when the studies started coming out saying that sugar was damaging to the heart. The Sugar Institutes buried that research. They totally buried the research. They took it out of publication and buried it for 50 years, and they started laying the blame of heart disease on fat. And that got us into this whole craziness of substituting good butter and good coconut oil and good olive oil with margarine, which is a trans fat that turned out to be just horrible for the heart. So sugar has a lot to answer for.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's good talking to you.
Thank you, and come back on Bob's show. He misses you.
I know. Okay, I will.
Okay,
all right.
Sarah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You miss Sarah, don't you, Bob? You don't have to go on. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, I miss Sarah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, Ginny.
Okay, very good. All right, let's go over some of these questions here on the chat line. One question was, can you explain how magnesium will stop wrinkles and aging in the skin?
I can. Do you want me to?
Yes, would you please explain that to our listeners?
Bob, I shouldn't have brought Bob in. He woke up when I asked him to comment on Sarah. Yes, of course. What does magnesium do for the skin and aging? It is a hydrator. When you have magnesium, you hold on to your water in your cells and in your skin cells and in everywhere in your body. And when you are well hydrated and your skin cells is properly plumped up with hydration, then how did they say it about all these ridiculous cosmetics? It reduces the appearance of wrinkles. So there, it's a hydrator.
No,
and that's why we love our
wrinkles.
Remag.
Fine lines and wrinkles.
Right.
Now, what about DHEA? Because I think I've heard you talk about that before. Is that an anti-aging thing? I don't really know what it is.
Right. DHEA, that's the precursor to the hormones. It's called the master hormone. We talk about that every once in a while. Dr. Norman Shealy, he did some work with transdermal magnesium and said that rubbing magnesium on the skin helps activate the DHEA receptors in the skin, and so it's going to help your DHEA. I don't know if it increases the level. I think his study did say that it increases the level of DHEA, so then you have the precursor to your hormones. So again, that's why Remag lotion is so awesome.
I just can't imagine at a cellular level and the skin being made of so many cells, you know, the epidermis and the dermis and the layers and layers and layers of skin cells, that the need for ATP production is inherent in every single cell. And so to have your cells properly energized, to me, it just seems that it would create that glow, that youthful appearance, because they're all radiating. You know, they're all firing, charged up with Remag and probably Remite for that matter, Carolyn, wouldn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. The cells need the nutrients inside them to run the processes. If you just look at the slides I've done over the past year on the webinars, I probably put up the Krebs cycle, and you can see the 8 steps, and 6 of them require magnesium, and the others they're pulling in the different B vitamins. So B vitamins and the magnesium are the most important cofactors in biological processes. And what do we have? We've got our Remag and our Remite with the 12 minerals, and the Realign has all the methylated and food-based Bs. So we've got it covered. As Bruce would say, we've got it brilliantly covered.
Right, excellent, outstanding. Rena typed in and she said, I've had the feeling of electricity running through my legs since December. This feeling has started to subside a bit. Now I have numbness in places, including my face and nose. My doctor has assured me that I've not had a stroke or a heart attack. She has no idea what's going on.
Well, as we said earlier, I don't know how, is it Rena? Is that a person's name?
Rena, Rena.
Yeah, that's my mom's name. Hi, Rena. Thank you for emailing. We don't know the history here, but certainly over the years I've definitely related tingling, numbness, electrical sensations running through legs, arms, yes, numbness of the face and nose, or a little, tingling or itching. It's all, you're always trying to scratch your nose because there's this little tingle on it. That's magnesium deficiency until proven otherwise. And I don't know how much Remag if you're, or even if you're on it, but that's personally what I'd be doing if I had those symptoms. And what it is, okay, if you haven't read my books, then what it is when cells fire, like a nerve cell, when it fires an action, they call it action potential. The calcium in the cell is what causes the flicker of activity. When that's done, magnesium opens the little gateway and pulls out the calcium so that it's done its activity, okay, come back out. If there's not enough magnesium to open that door and pull out calcium, that calcium keeps triggering that activity or action. And that action may be, it's a little spark to make a muscle move, and you have a whole bunch of sparks, and then you're walking or you're moving your arm or something. But if that calcium is at such a level, it doesn't have magnesium to balance it out, it just keeps firing. So you get this constant twing, 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 twing of the electricity running through your legs, or the numbness of your face and nose. It's electrophysiologic event that has been identified and studied over and over again, but doctors have not accepted it in their clinical practice because they ignore nutrients, because we were never taught them in med school, and if we didn't learn it in med school, it's not important.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Excellent. Okay, let's see, where are we here now? Back to Marie. Marie typed in and said, hi, Ginny and Dr. Dean. It's very difficult to take our health into our own hands when we have to rely on our health insurance. When we know what to do, but we can't get our doctors to get on board with our requests, some of us have to use insurance and don't have the resources to pay out of pocket for good health care. It's really too bad.
Yeah, it's just horrible. There are some companies where people are insured through their work that have, what's it called? Like a health
savings fund. Yeah.
Health savings fund. Over the years, when I used to do consultations, people would pay me through their health savings fund. But yeah, otherwise, insurance is locked into the allopathic medical system. Insurance is controlled by the AMA, the American Medical Association, owns the insurance codes that code what's paid for in a doctor's office. And the AMA has not provided codes for nutritional counseling or any alternatives. that I know. I mean, maybe there's a little different now. Maybe they're paying, $15 to a naturopath to do something that they'd, in the same amount of time, they'd pay $500 to a specialist. I mean, you talk about bias. I mean, we're suffering an incredible bias in medicine where we can't use the money we're paying into our insurance for something that's going to help us. So yeah, it is terrible, Marie, and I don't have an answer. All we can do is try to give people affordable information and products that can make them so healthy that what do we say, Ginny? That you can work harder to afford your organic food. I mean, that's golly, it's just horrible.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. It's a total dichotomy, but it's just like anything else. When you have to make your priorities, no matter what level of income or opportunity you're at. And when people put their health first, in the pyramid of priorities in that regard as well, there are just some fundamental things. It's just kind of like in your house. You have to have, like, let's say, running water and toilet paper or something. Well, you've just got to have magnesium in your body. So if there's just a limited amount you can do the most with the least by using Remag, I think. If you at least start with that, then you're in a much better situation.
Right, because if you look at Bruce's experience, he's taking half a teaspoon twice a day. Maybe he's an exception. I don't know. I know all I need now is a teaspoon a day, and I had some pretty dramatic problems with magnesium deficiency. So if you've got let's take the 16-ounce bottle of Remag. What is that? 96 teaspoons. That's 3 months worth of magnesium. And I think the price, what is it, Ginny? $55?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's 60. 3 months, you're paying, whatever, 90 days, you're not paying that much for what you're getting. So just, figure it out a little. I'm just constantly astounded when I walk by Starbucks on the beach and see people lined up like 20 deep to get their hit of a $5 Starbucks. And what they're doing, sure, gives them the adrenaline jolt in the morning, but it drains their magnesium, and the reason they need the jolt in the morning is because they're magnesium deficient. So if you have a Starbucks every day, and I'm not saying Marie is at all, but a lot of people have a Starbucks every day. So what's that? Every day $5, $150 a month just on coffee. And people don't realize that they're doing that. And I know from one of our not a contest. What was it? It was a question we sent out to our customers a couple of years ago, asking. I forget how Chad noted it. It was, are you using less of your other supplements? Are you using less coffee or whatever? And people came back and said how much money they were saving by taking our Completement formulas because they no longer needed to see a chiropractor or a masseuse or take other supplements, and they no longer needed to drink coffee to get their energy. So we try to educate people a bit in that way so that they aren't so so I'm sorry, Bob's distracted me. We try to educate people in that way. I don't know that we spend a lot of time doing that because, we're not here to talk you into doing something that you don't want to do. We're just here to support you and give you ways for you to take better care of yourself. If cigarettes, alcohol, coffee, sugar, if we say those things are draining magnesium and you stop them, you're going to save money and you're going to feel healthier. And then with that money you save, you'll buy the Remag. It's as simple as that.
Right on. Very good. Absolutely. Okay, Rena typed in, Carolyn, and said, hello, I'm healthy, no meds, active, 55 years old. I will try the Remag. I was taking a lot of iron, 150 milligrams when this started, so I stopped.
And the question?
She was the one who was asking about the electricity in the leg, and then also the, that's Rena. Yeah. So she was just saying what her circumstances were, because she said, I don't know her case. So she was just saying, I'm, this, that, and the other. She's not taking any meds. She doesn't have anything. Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about iron, it's very magnetic. I wonder if, there's something with the excess iron she might have built up, because iron, it's very hard to absorb. It can precipitate in the body. It causes constipation. So that would be very interesting to know her iron levels. This is where you would get a hair analysis to check for the toxicity of iron and lead and mercury and arsenic and those sort of things, because if a person does have an overload of iron, you would have to look at what's that condition, hemochromatosis. But if she was taking iron, then it sounds like she must have been anemic. There are ionic irons you can get so that you don't have to get these mineral irons. When people ask us about iron, we tell them to get ionic iron. They're akin to our picometer, but our picometer is a very unique stabilized ionic form. Most ionic formulas out there are just a liquid of a mineral compound, and in a liquid, the different atoms, like a magnesium chloride, will break apart and disassociate in the water, but they will just as quickly associate again. So anyway, that's very interesting, Rena. Be interesting to know what your hair tissue mineral analysis of iron is from having taken so much.
Okay, very good. A question, what about collagen protein powders? Are those healthy or hokey?
Where am I talking about collagen? It might be in my Realign book. Let me see what I say about that, because I think we, with the Completement formulas, we're giving the building blocks of collagen. I mean, bone broth, for example. I'd rather people get the precursors, the building blocks, than taking supplements. Like, when you really have to look at the source of the supplements, like what's the origin of your supplements? So many of them are synthetic. Now, I'm not saying collagen is synthetic, but what processing does it go through to be created? How much is it boiled and, as I said, processed? So in the Realign book, I'm talking about sulfur, the importance of the sulfur amino acids in Realign, the methionine and taurine. I'm saying that sulfur promotes the health of ligaments, cartilage, collagen, and tendons. Sulfur deficiency may lead to the degeneration of those tissues. Half the amount of sulfur in our body can be found in the muscle, skin, and bones. So what happens when you have a sulfur deficiency, your ligaments, cartilage, collagen, and tendons suffer. So instead of just taking sulfur, people say, oh, well, I'll just take collagen. So it's going to the end product rather than going to the building blocks and getting your body stimulated to take care of what you're missing. more about collagen, I say I like promoting the building blocks for various body tissues. In this case, Realign for its sulfur molecules to promote collagen production. At this point, I'd like to take a short detour into the world of collagen because I haven't paid enough attention to it in my other writings, and because, as I noted above, you can support collagen production by using Realign. So, main structural protein of the body exists in the space between the cells, consists of amino acids wound together in triple strands. So I go on about it. So it is important. I'm just saying the precursors are amino acids, and which you'll get in the restructure, and the Realign, which is your sulfur.
And also RNA drops have a big amino acid panel too, Carolyn.
Right. And bone broth for collagen, bone broth is important. Again, I'd rather make my own than buy it. I find buying it tastes very yucky to me. So I buy free-range chickens. I make 2 big chickens at a time. I cut them up. I use them in my salads with my macadamia nut pate, and then the bones, I break them up with small garden shears for the marrow, and put 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in the water when I'm boiling the bones, slow boil or a low boil, and then that's where you that broth turns into a gelatin. That's your gelatin. And what you're doing there is you know exactly where your chickens in your bones are coming from, and your free-range chickens. So, but I know people are busy, and that's how we've gotten into a lot of problems we have with our health is we're too busy to make things from scratch anymore. So we do depend on purchasing our foods instead of making them ourselves. It's another
Very
thing
good.
that I'm sad about. Okay.
Rena typed back in, and she just said her blood test shows low iron, but it's not abnormal.
Okay, good.
Very good. So, yeah, try the Remag, Rena, and you support SUPPORT at rnareset.com. Just reference that you've talked to Dr. Dean or chatted with her on the radio show, and give us a follow-up once you get started with the Remag, and let us know how it goes. And if you have any other questions in the interim, don't hesitate to write us. Marie typed in, so she said, first of all, I'm grateful for your information and your products. You put health into our hands at reasonable cost. Thank you. And then she also typed in, what's the difference between a calorie restriction and fasting? I understand fasting to be beneficial for aging. I do keto and fast 2 days a week.
Okay, it's the amount of carbs you get when you're calorie restricting. If you're still eating carbs, what is it? Between 20 to 50 grams. When I first started, I was trying to stay around the 20 grams of carbs. And as soon as you eat the amount of carbs that will turn off your fat burning, then you're no longer fat burning. So, what is it? 0 calories is fasting. I'd rather fast than calorie restrict because I know calorie restriction is still going to give me carbs that don't allow my fat to burn. Does that make sense, Jenny, in your head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The calorie restriction is literally calorie in, calorie out. And like Carolyn said, you will not hit ketosis if you're using carbs. If you do keto, you're still using a calorie restriction, but you're basing it on macros. So instead of counting calories, you're counting macros. So that means you would take, let's say, for your body mass, your regular body mass index, and then the amount of weight that you have that you want to lose to get to your natural weight, you calculate that through what's called a keto calculator, and it will tell you of the 1,400 calories you should have today, 121 of those are fat, and 62 of those are going to be from protein, and 20 will be from carbohydrate. Example, not I'm telling you that. I'm just saying that's an example. And then you count your macros. You don't count calories from that. And then fasting is literally no intake, no food intake at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so dear Dr. Dean, please explain the difference between your Remag and another very well-known brand of ionic magnesium. Also, I don't understand what you said earlier about magnesium's association, dissociation in water. Please clarify. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll start with the last one. I forget the first question already because I was typing something. I apologize. Oh, my gosh. I should stop. I think I'll close my computer. So, association, disassociation. Before I had Remag, and I still do, I tell people to use natural calm magnesium citrate. It does cause me the laxative effect, but some people can take it quite well. And I liked it because it's a powder and it's mixed in water. And in water, minerals will dissociate. The magnesium and the citrate will split apart for a millisecond. And in that millisecond, the magnesium can be absorbed in cells. But just as quickly, they associate again. They bind back together because magnesium is very reactive and it wants to bind with something. What Remag has going for it is the proprietary process by the chemist allows the magnesium ions to be stabilized in the ionic form for long periods of time so that they can be absorbed into the cells readily. And that is indicated by the fact that I don't get the laxative effect from them, from the Remag. So I know that it's being absorbed fully under different types of laser interference, electron microscope. There's nothing in the water. There's nothing big enough to be observed in the water, either through lasers or electron microscopy. So that means it is in an ionized form. That in the Remag liquid, there's nothing there. There's no solid matter. So it is in an ionized form. And therefore, I suppose I should say 99.9% absorbable. So it's, okay, so that's your association, disassociation. That's what all minerals do in liquids. But what it depends on is them staying disassociated long enough for the ions to be absorbed, and most liquids don't stay disassociated long enough because they're not formulated that way. But I think natural calm is better absorbed than the pills and tablets that people take, which the body has to break down first. Before then, the magnesium compound gets dissolved a bit in the blood and disassociates and is quickly absorbed. Does that, I just kind of rambling on now, but does that make sense, Jenny?
Yep, I think so. Very good. Okay, Moira in Ontario says, I'm on the Total Body Reset products for 4 months. Now I am up to 2.5 teaspoons of Remag and a teaspoon of Remite a day. I still have lots of anxiety and some diarrhea. And whenever I try to increase my Remag, my diarrhea worsens. Can this be related to yeast? I'm wondering where the Remag goes first. Does it go to the places I need it most, or will it get absorbed by the digestive system first?
It gets absorbed. It starts being absorbed, Moira, in the mouth and, right down through the esophagus. It's absorbed very quickly. What happens with people getting the soft diarrhea, as you say, is it's either detoxing yeast or dumping things from the cells, or the intestinal peristalsis is very quick, so it's pulling some remag into the intestines. We tell people, and if you email customer service, they'll give you the FAQ on what to do if you have soft diarrhea. That's doing our psyllium either alone or psyllium and bentonite to help absorb the toxins so it won't cause the diarrhea, or with the psyllium to help give bulk to the intestines to slow things down, to give the remag more chance to be fully absorbed, so it won't just. In some people, it's possible, and this research has to be done, where things just go through so fast through the intestinal system. Maybe some of the remag is being pulled along that way, and the extra fiber will help slow things down. Is that okay, Ginny?
Yep,
Enough
that's
words?
wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And okay, Moira, if you need any other help at support at RNA Reset, just chat us up and we'll help you as we can. Also, we have Julie Dickey, who's working with our Total Body Reset customers, Moira, and you can also talk with Julie. She'll go into some details with you, too. Marie said, I understand some people are getting laxative effect from remag if they are including sea salt in their water. This could have a detox effect, and in some individuals. So what do you think of that, Carolyn? Sea salt causing them to detox and give them diarrhea. I have to say, remag does not cause the laxative effect. It's not remag, because remag does not require digestion. It does not use digestive energy from the body. It goes straight into the body, into the bloodstream, into the mitochondria, and it doesn't go into the gut like to be broken down like a thing, like a cupcake. But it's so concentrated and it's so powerful that it will go into the cells, as Carolyn says, displace toxins, and then you've got to do the mop-up, which is what the psyllium seed husk is so great for. And also, if you're having difficulty increasing the remag, sometimes you can just use it topically on your skin, and that'll slow down a little bit, although, it's not necessarily a guarantee, because it's going to absorb. It's going to absorb.
Mm-hmm. Now, what? Who's the person we're talking to here? Sorry.
Moira in Ontario.
Oh, Moira again. Yeah, could sea salt be causing laxative effect? I don't know if maybe you're thinking of the sea salt flushes that some people do. That's a lot more sea salt. I'm looking it up. Sea salt flush, which I don't recommend because it pulls out minerals. It's 2 teaspoons of sea salt, I think, in a liter of water, and people drink that first thing in the morning. It would make me nauseous, and also it flushes through. I mean, you can have laxative effect. You can obviously have a lot of urination. It's like you're not giving your body a chance to absorb the minerals from the sea salt. It's just acting like a purgative. So that's not what we're doing with our water intake, with a 1/4 teaspoon in a liter of water, so that you're sipping this water through the day and you're giving your cells the 72 minerals in the sea salt to help support metabolic function. You're not using 2 teaspoons in a liter to try to flush your intestines. I don't believe in flushing the intestines. I believe in getting the intestinal muscles to work properly with the right amount of magnesium so that you have regular, normal bowel movements.
Very good. Let's go to the phones, Carolyn. We've got a couple callers calling from the great state of Florida, area code 772. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
This is Charlotte. I am so excited. I cannot tell you how excited. I told everybody about Dr. Dean in the chiropractor's office today, whether they wanted to hear or not. They all heard about you. And you have solved. I was doing a sauna, and I had so many leg cramps, and I got out of it, and I said something is very wrong here. And I have been doing everything. I've done 14 liver flushes. I've done everything for the last 4 years, but I knew that there were still pieces missing. And then when I got the Magnesium Miracle, I'm there, oh, my word, the breathing issues and all of this. I got the cardio ion test and the RBC magnesium, and I was told that I could have a sudden heart attack. My magnesium level was so depleted. So I'm there. Well, I've been listening to your shows now for the last 3 weeks. I think I've been up till 2 o'clock in the morning listening to so many archived shows, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm up to 1.5 teaspoons of Remag with the Remite and the salted water, but I figured that wasn't enough because I was so severely depleted. So I took 1 magnesium citrate in the morning, and then 2 teaspoons of Natural Calm, and then I sipped that all day. And I was wondering, is it too much to take more? Like, could I just I was thinking, should I just go to 3 teaspoons so that I can get all my breathing issues have gone in 3 days. The breathing issues have gone, and my leg cramps are practically all gone. So I don't think I'm saturated yet because I don't reach bowel tolerance. But I'm just trying to figure out how can I go faster.
Stop it, Charlotte.
No? Okay.
Stop it. You don't. Slow down, girl. You know you've got the answer now, and what you want to do is enjoy it and make peace with it, that you're slowly going to saturate. I know, they're crazy. They are so crazy. It's just, oh my gosh. But see, if you've got your breathing issues under control and your leg cramps are starting to go away, you know that you have enough magnesium now to protect your heart. And, you know, what's going to happen if you, again, I like Natural Calm, but unfortunately what's going to happen with taking a magnesium citrate pill and the Natural Calm is you're going to start to get the laxative effect, and then you're going to start to lose magnesium with the laxative effect, and you don't want that. So just keep slowly going up on your Remag liquid, and get the Remag lotion and start putting that on your body as your body cream, and that way you'll get more magnesium, but it's not going to encourage any laxative effect. And
so can I work my way up to 3 teaspoons over several weeks? Because I'm at 1.5 teaspoons now.
Yes. Oh, yeah. In another couple of weeks, you'll be up to 3. And I needed to take 3 and then 4 teaspoons for fairly long months and months before I was no longer getting my little jolts of heart palpitations or my leg cramps. And now I only take 1 teaspoon a day, 1/2 teaspoon in the morning, 1/2 at night, and 300 milligrams, and I'm fine.
Wow. So, the heart palpitations are gone too. I'm amazed at what has happened in the last 2 weeks, and it's like I cannot believe that doctors do not tell you about magnesium. It just boggles my mind. I can't believe it. And then so when amazing. Thank you.
When
so
you demand
much for all you do.
But Charlotte, it's just crazy too. You demand the test, they give it to you, and then they scare the heck out of you. Oh my gosh, you could have a heart attack. It's like, well, that was your job to prevent it in the first place, for Pete's sakes. It's just, the doctors, they should be doing these tests, and I hope it woke that doctor up to do more of that testing.
That's for sure. How many weeks did you wait before you go to take any lab test and just go get the RBC magnesium test? Should I wait 3 or 4 weeks to see if it's gone up?
Well, it's a good question, Charlotte. Usually I tell people to wait about 3 months. What happens in the first month or two is your magnesium is going to work to such an extent that it may not be hanging out in your red blood cells.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
So we're here. Yep, I hear you. I don't know where she went.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
It must be Maui.
The other thing I wanted to ask was, do you know about...
I didn't finish up what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
But it's about the red blood cell test. You said you wanted to have one. How soon could you have one? In the first couple of months, the magnesium is so diverted into the 700, 800 different enzyme systems, it's not going to hang out in your red blood cells. The red blood cells is actually not a very good measure. Bob, are you muted? I hear water, Bob.
So which test should I ask for?
No, let me finish. I'm sorry for all this distraction. I apologize. Okay, so in the red blood cells, there are no mitochondria. And it's the mitochondria that are using up most of the magnesium. And in other blood cells, in other tissue cells, which we really can't measure that well because we don't want to do tissue biopsies, there are 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria in every cell. And as I've said before, in the mitochondria, that's where the Krebs cycle makes energy, and 6 of the 8 steps require magnesium. So we want to be measuring ionic magnesium that gets into these cells. Instead, we're forced to use red blood cell magnesium, which isn't such a great test. So what happens, as I started out to say, in the first couple of months, your magnesium can even look a little worse, and that totally freaks people out because they think, oh my gosh, I'm taking all this magnesium and it's not working. Yes, it is working, but it's not going to show up. It's going to be in your cells. So we encourage people not to do this frequent testing. Maybe leave it 3 months before you test.
I totally agree. I'd rather just not test because I already know it's working because I don't have the heart palpitations. I can breathe.
Exactly.
And so many other issues that I had no idea were all related to magnesium. I mean, I got my root canal out by an IAOMT dentist. I got my mercury fillings out. I got a rebounder. I got the sauna. I mean, I have been doing, I've just been doing everything, and I could not figure out what was the missing piece of the puzzle that why I am not in, super health. And when I read your book, I kept asking God every day, please guide me and show me the people that I need to listen to, et cetera. And when I found you and I found Dr. Zach Bush and that Restore, have you heard of him? I've been taking that for the leaky gut. And
that's good. Yeah, we tell people about that.
Yeah, I've been doing that and the magnesium, and Dr. Levy's book with the vitamin C has helped me a lot. But the magnesium has been like the most amazing change. I can't believe it. I'm totally, and I love your Remag, the Remite, and I'm going to get the Renew, and I took the RNA drops. I love the talk that you had. It was really an in-depth talk on the background of the RNA. That was amazing. I just love listening to all of your talks. All of your, everybody out there has to listen to her podcast because you learn so much about everything. It's just amazing. Great. I'm just so thankful to you that you do all of this, and you are so altruistic, and you just help everybody so much. It's just, I've talked about, on Extreme Health Academy, I joined that, and I've been telling everybody, and they've been reposting my post about you and the products. And even the head of it, Justin and Kate, said, yes, we've had, Justin had you on the show, I guess, on the Extreme Health Radio.
Yes.
And they have this thing, and so people from all over the world, chime in on it, and then everybody helps each other. It's just amazing. And so many people thanked me, said, I'm going to look into this right now. Somebody in Australia today said, oh, my God, how do I get – she wanted to know in Australia and England, how can they get Remag and Remite? Do you send it to those countries? Because then I could tell them.
Yeah, we do, but we also have distributors in the UK and in Australia. So you can tell people just to get in touch with us, at support@rnareset.com. But I really appreciate how you're a magnesium whisperer, but I don't think whisperer is the right word. I think you're a magnesium shouter. So it's wonderful.
Well, it's been so amazing for me because I couldn't breathe for the asthma. I mean, doctors told me I was going to die of the asthma. Then they told me they wanted to take my gallbladder out. I did the liver flushes and it saved my gallbladder. I mean, every time they tell me something wicked and something stupid, I'm there. There's got to be an answer. And that's when I started looking and finding people like you all that are here to help us. I wish I could get you in nursing homes. I'm fighting with the nursing homes. All they want to do is give my aunt drugs, and I said, and I'm begging them to give them magnesium and C, and they're like, they look at me like I'm crazy.
Well, what you do, Charlotte, is you get the Remag lotion and just put it in an ordinary hand cream or body cream bottle, and tell them to put that on her. That's the only way that we can figure around this whole situation.
Oh, my word, that's fantastic. I'll get that tonight. Thank you. That's a great idea. Oh, that's awesome.
Great, Charlotte. We're gone now.
You.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Carolyn. Count the genius. Thank you, Ginny.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ginny.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com. Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
When it's much more simple than that. You have a physical